Happy Equinox and Mabon, everyone. I wanted to celebrate this day with you all in this way. So here is another public review of my magical diaries from September 21st, 26 years ago today. I love the autumn. I hope you love the autumn. It's a beautiful time. Getting ready for spooky season. So this is a two-part diary because I did some work during the day and then also later in the evenings with my coven of friends. September 21st, 1996, Mabon, afternoon, sunny. I have discovered a new meditation using In Sof Or. First, I meditated on In. A deep energy consumed me. Nothing. Second, I meditated on Sof. A rushing of energy came upon me from my left side, a pressure. Thirdly, I meditated on Or, and a very strong, soft energy filled me. I could sense light. So, in so forth, of course, we know from the Hebrew Kabbalah, the limitless light in this case. And I wasn't doing what a Kabbalist would do, and I certainly wasn't visualizing these words with Hebrew letters. I didn't learn the importance of that or the value of that till November of this year when I joined the order and had to memorize it. So this was just an idea I had read. I just finished reading at this point Mystical Kabbalah by Dion Fortune, and had been through a lot of those sort of books, and was just, as I've said before, in an in-between phase in my practice, waiting for initiation. And so I was coming up with creative things that were very largely inspired by my work with my sort of spirit guides. So this is something you could definitely try. I would recommend writing it out in Hebrew and contemplating that, and eventually visualizing that and meditating on it, going from there. The outcome of this meditation: first, I noticed, see, as in saw, my aura was more strong. Second, I felt my aura was greater in power. Thirdly, I noticed that I was cleared, and that realization came easier. So I think analyzing a new technique you've just been inspired to try out of the blue is never easy, but I'm very glad I recorded it. This was good. Don't forget to do this often, as I clearly did forget at other times. So points for to my younger self for trying to figure out what I was experiencing, which is never an easy thing to do. Then that night, I wrote the invocations and prayers for the ceremony, and then we usually had a focused ritual point where we'd, direct the spirits to accomplish our wills, usually writing the things on a piece of paper and then burning them at the very end. It was pretty straightforward, formulaic in that regard. As far as the climax would go, but the interesting stuff was usually the determination of what we wanted to do for ourselves, what we wanted to bring into the world in an overall general ceremony sense. And then the interesting thing was the interacting with the spirits that showed up. That was a large part of the evenings. And then we usually played around with sensitivity training and sort of psychic testing later on, just to see sort of watch our improvement as we gain sensitivity and feeling insight. So here we go, a Mabon chant night. Hail, all ye gods and goddesses, I welcome ye here tonight. Upon this night of summer's last, to worship thee to the very last. Autumn's first tomorrow is, the days grow colder, frost creeps in, and to the energies we give praise, and ask them upon this day. Not too bad, I guess, for that stage. The final part, you can see the paganisms. Obviously, I don't think there's actually that much to say about the previous one. Doing my best with the poetic form, and these things were never as good as my poems, like straight up poems. Because with straight up poem, I was just trying to write a good poem. with these, I was trying to connect with, like, actually get a sense of the words coming from the divine. And yeah, so that's why they were often clunkier, and sometimes often by design or inspiration. Great initiator, to thee we call, to the spirits, fairies, energies all. On autumn's equinox we call, beyond space and time, beyond all that is manifest, and into the unmanifest. Blessed be. Good old blessed be. So that was the stuff I had written earlier, and on some sheets of paper, and would have distributed them to my buddies. And yeah, most of our rituals at this time, my rituals, personal rituals at this time. Oh wait, that's for next part. Yeah, that night the ritual I performed was so that I would have the funds to go to Vienna for grade 10. I concentrated long and visualized long, and in the end, then released the final energies. So mote it be. Just giving a synopsis of trying to, practice the ritual diary. I didn't really have any sense of how to describe things back then. There's pretty much everything's missing other than the very basic points. And it's better than nothing. If this is what you can do that. It's very valuable in itself, just for knowing what you did. And yeah, some entries are definitely better than others. The rituals I was performing at this point were directed by my spirit guides or guardian angels, and I didn't see such things as different. I wish I'd noted what this ritual looked like, but I did these things so often. I did clearly assume that I would never forget exactly what I was doing because I did them so much. But you do forget because you move on to other techniques and just sometimes forget the old ones, and sometimes regret that. So this was a big mistake. It's significant, of course, that I was wise enough to choose a powerful day such as the equinox to do such an important operation. So yay me. And this is a noting of something significant that happened that night, that I noticed worth mentioning. And again, a lot of stuff I just didn't mention because it seems sort of normal at the time when you're doing it a lot. I slowly walked closer to the edge of the barrier, and I could feel the energy getting denser. Then I stopped. I know of no one to cross a magic barrier, and I do not wish to be the first, to my knowledge, which is kind of adorable. But we took very seriously in our Wiccan circle of the not crossing of the circle once we had formed it. So there's different traditions for how these things work, as myself today knows, and you should stick within the tradition, of course. But we were definitely saw this sort of psychical barrier that we would visualize as protecting us from the spirits, and they seemed to observe it too. Sometimes we added other things to it, but for the most part, that's how we did it. And we didn't get that from anywhere, as far as I know. That's what I came up with. That's what we came up with. We were trying to learn from the fairies that we worked with a lot in those days. So we were taking the barrier in, pulling it back towards us and towards the candle in the center of the altar. Then the other two stopped concentrating, and the barrier stopped at my back, so I could feel it stop at my back. I looked at them. Then we continued until the energy was at the candle. Then we would take it inside of us. So that was how the circle casting worked for our coven, and how we ended it as well, which I think is quite a beautiful way to do it when you're talking about people who are mainly reading Scott Cunningham and Aleister Crowley. So some insights from that. Don't be afraid to experiment with new ideas, especially inspired downloads. I did end up going to Vienna, and things worked out. Yeah, the magic worked in some real ways. And write your own ceremonies and invocations. Don't be afraid to do that. Working with old texts is great, but also inspired ones are super powerful. Casting and crossing circles. Experiment with these things here and there. There's some room to do that usually, but observe the guidelines of the tradition you're working in, because you can bet the spirits you're working with are observing those guidelines more or less, as far as I know. Let me know what you think in the comments. We can talk about it. It'll be fun. Welcome to autumn, my friends. Happy Equinox and Mabon. And if you want more of these, join my free cyber guild at hermeticmysteryschool.com. Peace.